Hi, everyone. We were talking about budgeting, and I wanted to talk to you about terminologies that are used just in case if you're not familiar with them. So let's talk about budget. What is budgeting, right? It's a process of creating a plan that's essential to allocating resources for a specific period of time. In higher education, creating a budget is for a university or department or college, for instance. And then you have terminologies like expenses. Money spent on goods, services, and resources need to operate a university or department. These include things like salary, supplies, maintenance, and research costs. On the other hand, you have revenue. That's money received from sources such as tuition, grants, endowments. Revenue is used to fund the expenses and support the mission of the university. So, how do we do all this? Well, you probably heard of the next term, which is financial planning. What is financial planning? Financial planning is, of course, it's a process of forecasting the future expenses as well as revenues and making decisions about how to allocate the resources. This includes creating a budget, setting goals, developing strategies to achieve these goals. So it's going to be really important to understand the next terminology, which are strategies. Strategies are specific actions and plans that are put into place to achieve budget and financial goals. So, strategies may include cutting cost measures, revenue generating initiatives, and investment in new programs or other initiatives that will drive money in. Of course, we talked about this briefly, but one of the other things that we do need to talk about is reserve funds. Reserve funds are a portion of the budget that is set aside for unexpected expenses or opportunities. So, for instance, COVID is an unexpected event where we needed reserve funds to keep afloat. This helps to ensure the stability of the university or the college or departments to meet unexpected needs and investments in new initiative to actually address some of the market trends or demands in terms of the higher education. Another terminology that you would see is endowments. What are they? These are a fund of money or property donated to the university or department or school with the intention of providing long-term financial support. The earnings from these endowments are used to support the mission of the university, schools, as well as departments. So all of you have heard all this before, but I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page to understand these terminologies. I think a lot of times when you're in a field for a long time, we tend to talk in jargons and we just assume that everyone understands what we're saying, but it's not necessarily true. And sometimes we have to go over the basics to understand what they are. Another terminology that you will see is cost centers. What are cost centers? These are areas within the university, schools, or department that incur expenses such as academic department, administrative offices, and research centers. Another term that you probably have seen is capital expenditures. These are expenditures for long-term assets such as buildings, equipment, and technology. These expenditures typically have a significant impact on the budget and typically planned very carefully and managed. Another term that you probably have seen are debt services, which are payments made to repay loans or bonds issued to a financial institution or capital expenditure. It's important to consider when you're budgeting and doing financial planning because it also affects how much resources that you have available. There's another terminology that you probably have seen is allocations. Well, you probably heard of allocations before. It's a process of distributing the amount of resources available for such as funding of staff in different areas or universities. And this process is an important aspect of budgeting and finance planning to ensure that all the resources are used effectively and efficiently in a timely manner. Another popular term that you would see is zero-based budgeting. What that means is it's a budgeting approach in which expenses are justified from scratch each year rather than being automatically continued on to the previous year. This approach may help to identify areas of cost savings and ensure that resources are being used effectively. Of course, there are other budget measures that you probably heard of, but I'll end here to talk about those terms. And thank you, everyone. I will see you in class.